2023 at 5 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall. Let's go around the room and introduce ourselves first. Dennis?
I'm Dennis Pollock, member of the committee.
Joe Eichstead, city engineer.
Paul Vollert, Public Works Superintendent.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll go to item number 2. We'll review our reports. Engineering, Joe, you want to go first?
Certainly. Thank you. So for the month of November for the engineering department, we've definitely seen a drop. Finally this month, that indicator that construction season is coming to an end, with our permits and diggers hotline locates have decreased significantly. Also with degradation fees for the year, we're working on getting those invoiced out to the utility companies. In addition, we had a yield sign review that we did in November at 10th Street and Peach Street, which is an agenda item later on this evening. And then we've also got the permanent infrastructure for the signals at West Current Avenue and Expressway up and running. There's a couple small things that they need to troubleshoot out there, like the camera video detection system has a little bit of troubleshooting to do yet, but otherwise the new infrastructure is up and operational. In addition, we've been finalizing survey on East Jackson Street. That's a proposed project potentially for 2025. And we've had a few small surveys and smaller design projects for wastewater and the Parks Department, as well as trying to finalize our designs for the 2024 construction season. So we're actively working on the Lincoln Street design and just wrapping up modifications to the Wiley Street project, both of which are proposed for next year. In addition, we sent out a request for qualifications to, I think, 5 or 6 consultants middle of the month for the 8th Street and Wood Avenue Highway Safety Improvement Grant. That's for the pedestrian project that's slated there. I believe it's a fall 2024 let date. So it'd be a 2025 construction project. And then in addition, for the 1 Mile Creek project, we've had a little bit of movement on the 2 permits that we're working to achieve from the DNR. The permit for the dam structure, that's being transferred to a different DNR staff member. So perhaps we'll see some movement on that one. That permit's the one that's been extremely difficult to move in a forward direction. So we've made some efforts there, and hopefully we'll be seeing those permits soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or anything? And I guess with nothing there, we can go to the street department review here.
Okay, thank you. Garbage collection and recycling collection, as you see, is continuing to be relatively consistent compared to 2022. Our construction projects, as listed, are there. For the most part, are completed for the year. Today, we on Oak Street there at 14th and Oak, we had 2 stumps that were left by accident that were ground, and the material was removed, and then that yard was shaped today and black dirted. So in the spring of the year, we'll go back and seed that and mulch that, but otherwise everything else on that project is completed. Shorewood Terrace, everything is completed there as well, except for the need to finish rake and seed in the spring. We're not going to take any chances this year of getting too much snow and salt on them and then having to do it again. So we'll do it first thing in the spring. Apricot and Broadway, for the most part, that project is completed as well. We built that retaining wall, so that section of Apricot Street, we did the subgrade and the grading work, but the curb and gutter and the sidewalk and the asphalt paving is left to be done there in the spring. Here in the next few weeks, we're going to put the safety railing on top of that retaining wall, working with a vendor out of Plover to get those materials and things like that. So for the most part, our construction season went very well, and everything was completed as planned. As far as maintenance activities go, we completed our last brush pickup for the year, as well as the leaf collection. We did have some issues with residents not necessarily calling in their leaves, so we had to make a third trip to go out to get them off the street. We wrote those down and then picked them up when we were checking the roads for our snow plowing, things like that. We take this time of the year because our staffing levels are kind of down, because a lot of our employees like to hunt and things like that, and then just take a break before we get into snow season. So we hauled scrap metal up to our metal recycling, hauled junk tires up to the recycler as well, kind of cleaning up our yard for winter months. We did go through and check the plow routes, looking for high manholes and branches that would hang down and hit the trucks and the loaders and graders and things like that. We had a culvert pipe that was failing on the bike trail south of the zoo. It was a concrete pipe. I think it was 6 sections where the joints were starting to pull apart. So we replaced that with a HDPE culvert pipe. So that is a gravel patch through the winter months here. We also had I think over a dozen catch basins that were failing on Highway 34 and other spots that we replaced this fall as well, and did the curb and gutter patches on that. And then as part of our salt order, we order our salt with the state of Wisconsin Transportation. And so you have 3 different types of fills that you can apply for. And one of them is an early fill, and then there's seasonal fill, and then there's a vendor reserve. Vendor reserve you don't have to take, but it's just always good to have that in your back pocket or whatever. But we took 900 tons of salt as part of our early fill, so our salt shed was completely full, actually probably more than should have in there when the season started. And obviously we've had here in the last 2 weeks these little 1.5 inch snow events that we've had on Sundays, I think it was, or maybe one Saturday, one Sunday. So we used a little bit of that, but we're, as of right now, going to be in good shape. Also, before freeze up, we were able to pulverize the gravel alleys and shape those, fill in the potholes and shape them, so the residents should have relatively decent go this winter, you know, in the first part of the spring. Our sign shop, we were short an employee for 6 weeks due to some personal things. So we did our best to get all of our construction projects signed properly for, you know, the permanent signing and things like that. We also had some railroad items that we had to clean up due to inspections. So we have pavement marking, and then we had to move the advanced warning signs. So we got all that taken care of as well. Then we continue to go through every year, you know, about 10 times a year, replacing the seasonal banners and the flags and things like that in the downtown area, as well as getting the Christmas lights installed on the poles in the downtown area. Our shop was fairly busy again, doing general maintenance on police and fire vehicles as well as our own. We had one 5-yard truck, one of our sanding trucks, that we had to replace some bearings, so they finished that up just in time to get it on the road. And then we had some issues with 3 separate loaders where we had to replace the DPF filters on 2 of them. And then we had some injector issues with another one, so all those are repaired and ready to go. And that, for the most part, with the 2 small snow events that allowed us to get some stuff out and then just check them over to make sure that everything was good to go. And that's, for the most part, completes our activities for the month.
Okay, thank you. I guess just a question or two, on the Apricot and 11th Street up there, where we're gonna do in the spring when we get, is that gonna be first on the agenda to get that
Yep.
completed? Okay.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as the,
And the blacktop and that?
yep,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get the concrete guys in there as soon as you know, because they got the carryover instead of
Yeah.
having to wait for something else.
Okay,
So the concrete work can be done first, obviously, and the asphalt plant typically takes like 2 or 3 weeks for them to get that up and running in the spring.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
okay, good. And with the blockers on top of the hill there on 11th, you know, that close off the street there, does that, as far as our snow removal, when the trucks will be going by, or graders, whatever, plowing there is, and I know they will be, but how careful do they have to be but to keep from piling snow up as the winter goes on those blocker, you know what I'm talking about there? Across the, that are blocking the street off.
Yeah, we actually just had a conversation about that yesterday. We have to get a hold of the residents because they actually have a driveway on Apricot Street that the asphalt is still in place. And so we may end up sliding those down the hill.
The one on the bottom of the hill, right?
Nope, the top of the hill.
Top of the hill?
Yep,
Okay.
the bottom of the hill, we paved it past their driveway, so
okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, definitely. If we don't have to move the ones on the top of the hill, I don't see any issue with that at all because they're about 6 feet tall. But if we have to move them, you know, it may be something that when we remove the snow from the downtown area, that we just go up there with a truck and a loader and bucket some snow away from that, so that, I'm sure you're concerned about possibly people going through that without being able to see the barricades. Is that what you're
That
asking?
could be, yeah, that'd be one, yeah.
Yeah. Nope, I don't see it. We'll keep an eye on it.
Okay, good. Now, I guess that was what I wanted to hear. I do go on 11th there, I guess, in that way quite often at times. I do see it myself, but, all righty. And I guess just one follow-up with our recycling. Have we had complaints, I guess, with any, you know, bad stuff being put in the recycling as far as?
We've actually been pretty lucky here for probably 7 or 8 months. We have had some issues in the past
Yeah.
where we had to reject a full load to the landfill because a resident had put, if I recall correctly, they had put waste oil in the recycling. So then when we put it into the truck, obviously the oil got all over the place and it was a contaminated load, so we had to dispose of that differently than taking it to the transfer station.
I guess just for my memory, do we catch that, do we catch that when it's put into the truck?
So we have the capability to see it, yes.
I know we have the
There's-
cameras and that.
There's a camera that's mounted on the top of the hopper, yes, and so, what happened on that instance was just that it just looked like a plastic jug, and then when the compactor actually had compressed it, that's when the oil had squirted, so then it was too late at the time. We were able to, you know, not take the whole entire load up to the landfill. We were able to push off like about half of the load that was in there, and then the rest of it had to be landfilled.
Do we ever, and have we been in the past that we get caught, I guess, that something's not seen at that point in time, that when it gets to the recycling, that we get, that it's caught, you know?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's just, why I meant to ask this the last couple meetings, and I forget about it, because I know in the past there have been issues, but it seems like I haven't heard anything or much lately, so hopefully that continues. Okay, there's another, the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't think that we introduced Ryan Austin, the third member of our committee, at the start of the meeting, so I want to do that for ourselves here, but also for the people that may be tuning in, so welcome, Ryan. Sorry about
Yep.
that. Sorry about
Big
that.
time, no problem.
Sorry about that, okay. Item number 3, review and consider adding a street light at the southeast corner of 16th Street South and Pepper Avenue. Joe?
So I included a map with the referral, kind of shows where the existing light and proposed light would be. This was originally came to our office via a resident, or at least a parent of a child that goes to Lincoln High School there, and so brought this to our attention to look at, or to look into. And so, you know, reviewed the street lighting policy, which I've also included in the packet as well. There are some design standards that are included in that policy, and those are the design standards that I use to review the effective light at the crossing. And so there is some information in the referral. Essentially, essentially what the technical information provides is that for northbound traffic, there's below substandard illumination available at the pedestrian crossing on the south side of the intersection. And so, based on that, we talked to Water and Light to see what options there would be to get another street light installed in that corner. And they've got a means to do so, put in a new pole and reroute some wiring. But they would expect about $1,800 for the installation. And so given the level of light that's available there, which is again below the standards that we have, we'd recommend installing a second light at that intersection, the southeast corner, as proposed on the map. And we do have, I should mention, we do have dollars in both the 2023 budget and the 2024 budget that would specifically for the addition of a street light if needed, that would cover the expense.
Okay. Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you saying that Water and Light won't pay for any of it if this has to be strictly the city's cost?
Yeah, typically these are the installation of these additional lights are borne by the city. In addition, all of the monthly rental fees are covered by the city as well. So if it's part of a street project, those situations are a little bit different from my recollection.
So in other words, the existing light, even if they put a different type of bulb or what they could do, that wouldn't help any then?
Yeah, they've tried some different things. I think that particular light on the northwest corner, that existing light, that's already the largest wattage light that they have.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And if there's nothing else, Ryan, do you have anything?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say it's a relatively low cost, considering if it saves one pedestrian versus vehicle accident, in my opinion. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. If there's no other comments from the committee, we can vote. All in favor, respond by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan. Ayes have it, opposed? Ayes have it, 3-0. Item number 4, review and consider adding yield signs at the intersection of 10th Street South and Peach Street. Joe?
So again, this was referred to our office from a resident. It came through the SeeClick Fix app, and the complaint or information that was provided through there was specific to right-angle accidents on 3 separate occasions. Those were almost right-angle accidents. But it references an actual accident that occurred earlier this year. And so it warranted for us to, it was prudent for us to go back and take a look at that accident history and look at this intersection again. We did review this last time, over a year ago in September of 2022, for the consideration of yield signs. It didn't quite make the warrants at that time. But given the new information, we went back and reevaluated it, and the addition of that most recent, well, 2 factors really that play into the decision or our recommendation tonight. One being the most recent right-angle accident that occurred earlier this year, as well as the fact that in September of last year, the next closest intersection that was uncontrolled was voted to get yield signs, which left this intersection entirely isolated. So that also played into the ultimate decision coming from the engineering department to recommend the addition of yield signs, yield control on 10th Street South at the Peach Street intersection. And, you know, we just used the current traffic control signage budget that we have to install those signs. I did include a draft of the ordinance if, you know, that was the direction that the committee wanted to go in. That's included in the packet and shows what those revisions would be.
So that the signs would go in on the north-south traffic?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I knew we had a lot of yield signs and that on that street, so I did go and drive up and down it a couple times today, and that's the only street that doesn't have one. I was surprised that we had them all like that covered, but it's something that we should look at doing. I guess so. Was there a reason, I wish I'd written them down, a couple of the streets have stop signs. Is there a reason that we have stop signs on a couple versus, you know, the other way, or yield signs like?
Hard to say exactly, just because if they've been there for a long time, knowing the impetus for the signage to begin with, it's kind of hard to evaluate. I guess if, you know, it would just be perhaps if they're by, you know, the local street approaching like a collector street, such as I think that would be 12th Street. There would be a collector or East Grand. That would be another situation where you would expect to see, you know, the side streets having stop control, you know. But when they're two local streets coming together, hard to say, you know,
Okay.
how that came to be.
All right. That caught my attention when I drove up and down it today a couple times. You know, so. Anything else, Dennis? Okay, yeah. Ryan, do you have anything?
Sorry, Tom, I couldn't get off mute. I know, I'm sure most of the committee members know I have a very strong dislike of uncontrolled intersections. So I would make a motion to approve this signage and any additions to the ordinance is necessary.
Okay.
Well, I'll second the motion, and we're looking at on 10th Street where you yield then, right?
Okay, okay, committee, if there's nothing else, Ryan, do you have anything else or not? If not,
No, that's all, please.
okay, if not, we can vote. Committee, all in favor, respond by aye.
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 No, the ayes have it, 3-0. Thank you. And item number 5 is review the referral list. What do we have?
I think it's item 4, the trash receptacles. Have we heard back at all on that one, or are we still waiting?
What was that, Ryan?
The referral item number, I think it's number 4. I got to get to the package. But, the trash receptacles, have we heard back as far as, are we able to move forward with adding more, or are we still waiting to hear?
No, we're still waiting to hear, Ryan. My apologies. With everybody alternating vacations and things like that, we were not able to get together as staff to get something sent down to DOA. We'll try to get that done here next week.
Okay.
All right, anything else on the list? If not, we can move on to the next item, and that's to set the next meeting date, which normally would be, I believe, Thursday the 4th. Is that the right date? think so.
Yes, January 4th would be the next date.
Is that okay? I guess there is the holiday week with New Year's there, but, New Year's on, Monday there, so. If there's no,
January 4th,
yep. There's no problems, we'll set, Thursday the 4th at, January 4th at 5 o'clock here in the council chambers. And I guess if something comes up, we'll let everybody know with enough, head time on it that we can change it, but it should be okay to go, so, all right? And with that, we're at item number 7, and that's, we're to adjourn. I'll move we adjourn. We have a motion, a second to adjourn. Committee, all in favor, respond by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And we're adjourned at 5:28, I believe. Thank you all.